Hello, today we'd like to go over the fertilization review assignment. Feel free to start and stop the video if needed. You will need packet pages 77 and 78 for this activity, and these two sheets will go on notebook pages 74 and 75 when you're finished. Okay, so remember that in meiosis, we produced egg and sperm. And of course, the egg and the sperm that are produced are both haploid. Remember, haploid cells have half the number of chromosomes as a diploid cell. So here we've got a haploid sperm, and if this is a human, it's going to have 23 chromosomes. And if this unites, fertilizes with a haploid egg, which also has 23 chromosomes, so haploid plus haploid makes diploid. So this is in a human. 23 plus 23 makes 46. So all of your body cells are diploid. Now what's formed here is something called a zygote. A zygote is one cell. Okay, it's considered a fertilized egg. So right now you're one cell big. This is a fertilized egg. Again, it's one cell. It is diploid. Now, this one-celled zygote will then divide by mitosis, okay? And that's how you're going to grow to the billions of cells that you are today. Again, when egg and sperm join, that process is called fertilization. Okay, so now I'd like to go on to page 77. Again, talking a little bit more about your fertilization notes. Now, the formation of sperm and the formation of egg are both meiosis happening, but we do call the cells that are undergoing these processes, they have names. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the formation of sperm cells, which is technically called spermatogenesis. And we're going to start with a diploid cell. Okay, so this cell is diploid, and it's just a model cell. Again, if this was a human, there would be 46 chromosomes here. This cell is called a spermatogonium, and this cell will undergo meiosis 1 to produce 2 haploid cells. There will be a second division where these 2 cells will produce 4 daughter cells, which are going to then be called spermatids. So again, this is just meiosis occurring, meiosis 1 and then meiosis 2. Differentiation will occur and you'll get 4 functional sperm produced from this one spermatogonium. And again, these sperm are all haploid. And if this was a human, it would be 23. But for this model organism, they have a haploid number of 2. Now, the flip side of that is what's going on in females. So the process of producing eggs is called oogenesis. And again, it's just meiosis. Here's the first part of meiosis, meiosis 1, and then the second part, meiosis 2. Now, it's a little bit different than what happens in spermatogenesis. In meiosis 1, when the 2 daughter cells are formed, there's an uneven splitting of the cytoplasm. And the vast majority of the cytoplasm goes over to one cell to form the secondary oocyte. And only a little bit of the cytoplasm goes over here to form what we call a polar body. Now, the amount of DNA is equal, okay? This secondary oocyte will go on with meiosis 2 to produce 2 daughter cells. Again, there's another uneven splitting of the cytoplasm, and the vast majority of the cytoplasm goes over here to this cell, which is going to be called an ootid or an egg cell. And then, of course, another polar body is produced, and then polar bodies can only produce polar bodies. What happens to the polar bodies? They will disintegrate and be absorbed by the uterine lining. So these will dissolve and be absorbed in the uterine lining. Again, all of these cells are haploid. Okay, so we have, again, in this model organism, a haploid number of 2. This was a diploid number of 4. Again, if this was a human, our diploid number would be 46, And each of these cells, the egg and then the 3 polar bodies, would have a haploid number of 23. Now notice that in spermatogenesis, you get 4 functional eggs forming, but that's not the case in oogenesis. In oogenesis, you only get 1 functional egg and then 3 polar bodies. Okay, and there's a reason for that. Mother Nature intended us for not to be wasteful, and it takes energy to keep these eggs. If 4 functional eggs were formed from a oogonium, that would be wasteful. You only release 1 egg per month, alternating ovaries. So there's a finite number of eggs that any female will need during her lifetime. Again, that begins at puberty and ends at menopause. But that's not the case with males. Males release, of course, millions of sperm are going to need to be released to help ensure that fertilization takes place. So 4 functional sperm are produced from 1 primary spermatocyte. So again, there's not as many eggs that are needed. So it would be wasteful to try to keep spend the energy to try to keep these cells living. So only 1 functional egg is produced per month. So again, down here, 4 functional sperm are produced through meiosis. Again, that's spermatogenesis. And 1 functional egg is produced through meiosis because almost all the cytoplasm is divided into 1 cell, and we get the production of these polar bodies. This is called oogenesis. Again, as far as notebook, remember, this will go on pages 74 and 75 of your notebook.